Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Gopi Janava Yadoranandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Balaji, Mai Subhadra. Jaya Srinataji, Jaya Balagopal, Jaya Srinataji, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Master Visata Shishimara's Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthara Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Harikunja Bihari Ki Shri Jagannatha Shri Baladev Maya Subhadra Ki Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal Ki Jai Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai Nitai Go Preman. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Uttamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Yasam
Tato Jayamudiraya
Tato Jayamudiraya
Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu
Nastaprayashu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
So before reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, today we're going to be reading from the Ekadashi book. I think today is Putrada.
Putrada.
And in order to get the entire benefit of the Ekadashi, we recite the names of all the Ekadashis. So if you repeat after me, you will get the total benefit, as if you stayed up all night chanting Krishna's names and fasted the whole day. Utpana,
Utpanna.
Mokshada,
Mokshada.
Safala,
Safala.
Putrada,
Putrada.
Satila,
Shattila.
Jaya,
Jaya.
Vijaya,
Vijaya.
Amalaki,
Amalaki.
Apamochani,
Papamochani.
Kamada,
Kamada.
Barutini,
Rudini.
Mohini,
Mohini.
Apara,
Apara.
Nirja,
Nirjal.
Yogini,
Yogini.
Padma,
Padma.
Kamika,
Kamika.
Putrada,
Putrada.
Aja,
Aja.
Parivartini,
Parivartini.
Indira,
Indira.
Papankush,
Papankusha.
Rama,
Rama.
Haribodini,
Haribodini.
Padmini,
Padmini.
Parama,
Param.
Jai, Ekadashi Ki Jai. So we are reading from the section entitled Putrada Ekadashi. Yudhisthira Maharaj said, O Lord, you have so nicely explained the glories of the auspicious Safala Ekadashi, which occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Paush, December and January. Now, please be merciful to me and explain the Ekadashi of the light fortnight of this month. What is its name, and what deity should be worshipped on that sacred day? O Purushottam, O Rishikesh, please also tell me how you can be pleased on this day. Lord Sri Krishna replied, O King, for the benefit of all humanity, I shall tell you how to observe fasting on Pausha Shukla Ekadashi. As I previously explained, everyone should observe the rules and regulations of Ekadashi to the best of his ability. This injunction also applies to the Ekadashi named Putrada, which destroys all sins and elevates one to the spiritual abode. Sri Narayana, the Supreme Lord and original personality, is the worshipable deity of this Ekadashi, and for his faithful devotee, he happily fulfills all desires and awards full perfection. Thus, among all the animate and inanimate beings in the three worlds, there is no better personality than Lord Narayana. O King, now I will narrate to you the history of Putrada Ekadashi, which removes all kinds of sins and makes one famous and learned. There was once a kingdom named Bhadravati, which was ruled by King Sukatuma. His queen was the famous Saibya. Because he had no son, he spent a long time in anxiety, thinking, if I have no son, who will carry on my dynasty? In this very way, the king meditated in a religious attitude for a long time, thinking, where should I go? What should I do? How can I get a son? King Sukatuma could find no happiness anywhere in his kingdom, even in his own palace, and soon he was spending more and more time inside his wife's palace, gloomily thinking only of how he could get a son. Thus both King Sukatuma and Queen Saibya were in great distress, even when they offered tapa, oblations of water, to their forefathers. Their mutual misery made them think that it was an undrinkable as boiling water. They thought that they would have no descendants to offer tarpana to them when they died. The king and queen were especially upset to learn that their forefathers were worried that soon there would be no one to offer them tarpana. After learning of their forefathers' unhappiness, the king and queen became more and more miserable, and neither ministers, friends, even loved ones could cheer them up. To the king, his elephants and horses and infantry were no solace, and at last he became practically inert and helpless. The king thought, "It is said that without a son, marriage is wasted. Indeed, for a family man with no son, both his heart and his splendid house remain vacant and miserable. Bereft of a son, a man cannot liquidate the debt he owes his forefathers, the demigods, and other human beings. Therefore, every married man should endeavor to beget a son. Thus he will become famous within this world, and at last attain the auspicious celestial realms. A son is proof of the pious activities a man performed in his past 100 lifetimes. And such a person achieves a long duration of life in this world, along with good health and great wealth. Possessing sons and grandsons in this life proves that one has worshipped Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the past. The great blessings of sons, wealth, and sharp intelligence can be achieved only by worshiping the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is my opinion." Thinking thus, the king had no peace. He remained in anxiety day and night, from morning to evening, and from the time he lay down to sleep at night until the sun rose in the morning, his dreams were equally full of great anxiety. Suffering such constant anxiety and apprehension, King Sikatuman decided to end his misery by committing suicide. But he realized that suicide drives a person into hellish condition of rebirth, and so he abandoned that idea. Seeing that he was gradually destroying himself by his all-consuming anxiety over the lack of a son, the king at last mounted his horse and left for the dense forest alone. No one, not even the priests and Brahmins of the palace, knew where he had gone. In that forest, which was filled with deer and birds and other animals, King Sikataman wandered aimlessly, noting all the different kinds of trees and shrubs, such as the fig, bell fruit, date, palm, jackfruit, bakala, septaparna, tinduka, and tilak, as well as the sala, the tala, tamala, sarala, kingopta, arjuna, labera, aheda, salaki, karmada, pastala, kara, saka, and pulasha trees. All were beautifully decorated with fruits and flowers. He saw deer, tigers, wild boar, lions, monkeys, snakes, huge bull elephants in rut, cow elephants with their calves, and four-tusked elephants with their mates closely by. There were cows, jackals, rabbits, leopards, and hippopotamus. Beholding all these animals, accompanied by their mates and offspring, the king remembered his own menagerie, especially his palace elephants. He became so sad that he absent-mindedly wandered into their very midst. Suddenly, the king heard a jackal howl in the distance. Startled, he began wandering about, looking around in all directions. Soon, it was midday, and the king started to tire. He was tormented by hunger and thirst. He thought, what sinful deed could I possibly have done so that I am now forced to suffer like this, with my throat parched and burning? I've pleased the demigods with numerous fire sacrifices and abundant devotional worship. I've given many gifts and delicious sweets in charity to all the worthy Brahmins, and I've taken care of my subjects as though they were my very own children. Why am I suffering so? What unknown sins have come to torment me in this dreadful way? Absorbed in these thoughts, King Sukatema struggled forward, and eventually, due to his pious credit, he came upon a beautiful pond that resembled the famous lake Manasharovar. It was filled with aquatics, including crocodiles and many varieties of fish, graced with lilies. Beautiful lotuses had opened to the sun, and swans, cranes, and ducks swam happily in its waters. Nearby were many attractive ashrams where there resided many saints and sages who could fulfill the desires of anyone. Indeed, they wished everyone well. When the king saw all this, his right arm and eye began to quiver, a sign that something auspicious was about to happen. As the king dismounted his horse and stood before the sages who sat on the shore of the pond, he saw that they were chanting the holy names of God on japa beads. The king paid his obeisances and, joining his palms, glorified them. He was overjoyed to be in their presence. Observing the respect the king offered them, the sages said, "We're very pleased with you, O king. Kindly tell us why you have come here. What is on your mind? Please tell us what you desire." The king replied, "O great sages, who are you? What are your names? O auspicious saints, why have you come to this beautiful place? Please tell me everything." The sages replied, "O king, we are the Vishvadevas. We have come here to this lovely pond to bathe. The month of Magha will be here in 5 days, and today is the famous Putrada Ekadashi. One who desires a son should strictly observe this Ekadashi." The king said, "I've tried so hard to have a son. If you great sages are pleased with me, kindly grant me a good son." The very meaning of Putrada, the sages replied, is giver of a son. So please observe a complete fast on this Ekadashi day. If you do, then by our blessings and by the mercy of Lord Keshava, you will surely obtain a son. On the advice of Vishvadevas, the king observed the auspicious fast day of Putrada Ekadashi according to all the established rules and regulations. And on Dwadashi, after breaking his fast, he paid his obeisances again and again to them all. Soon after, Sukatema returned to his palace. Queen Saibya became pregnant, and exactly as the Vishvadeva sages had predicted, a bright-faced, beautiful son was born to them. In due course, he became famous as a heroic prince, and the king gladly pleased his noble son by making him his successor. The son of Sukatema took care of his subjects very conscientiously, just as if they were his own children. In conclusion, O Yudhisthira, one who wishes to fulfill his desires should strictly observe Putrada Ekadashi. While on this planet, one who strictly observes this Ekadashi, one who strictly observes this Ekadashi will surely obtain a son, and after death, he will achieve liberation. Anyone who even reads or hears the glories of Putrada Ekadashi obtains the merit earned by performing a horse sacrifice. It is to benefit all humanity that I have explained all this to you. Jai. This ends the narration of the glories of Posha Supla Ekadashi or Putrada Ekadashi from the Ekadashi Purana. Jai. Putrada Ekadashi ki jai. So the meaning is that it has the effect of being able to produce a son that can deliver his father is the reason that the king was so saddened that he didn't have a son. So now we are going to return to Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11. Today is text 8, is it 9? Okay, text 9. Yarhi
Yahi
Ambujaksapasasara
Ambujakshapasasara
Bo
Bo
Bhava
Bhavan
Yarhi Ambujaksapasanasara Bhubavan
Yahi Ambujaksha Appasasara Bhavan
Kurun
Kurun
Madhun
Madhun
Vata
Vata
Surit
Suhrit
Didrikshaya
Didrikshaya
Kurun Madhun Vata Surit Didrikshaya
Kurun Madhun Vata Suhrit Didrikshaya
Tatrabda
Tatrapta
Koti
Koti
Pratima
Pratima
Sano
Shano
Bhave
Bhavet
Tarabda Koti Pratima Sano Bhave
Tatrabda Koti Pratima Kshano Bhavet
Ravim
Ravim
Vinakshno
Vinakshno
Iva
Iva
Nas
Nas
Tavachuta
Tavachuta
Ravim Vinakshor Iva Nas Tavachuta
Ravim Iva Vinakshno Rivanas Tanachuta
Yariyan Ambujaksa Pasasara Bhuvam
Yari Ambujaksha Pasasara Bhuvavan
Karun Madan Vata Surit Rikshaya
Kurun Madhun Matha Suhrit Didrikshaya
Tatrabda Koti Pratima Ksano Bhaved
Tatrapta Koti Pratima Kshano Bhavet
Ravim Vinakšnor Ivanastavachuta
Ravim Vinakshno Rivanas Tavachuta
Yarhi Amujaksa Pasasara Bhuvovan
Yahi Ambujaksha Apasasara Bhuvavan
Karun Madun Vata Surit Rikshaya
Kurun Madhun Matha Suhrit Didrikshaya
Tatrabda Koti Pratima Ksano Bhaved
Tatrapta Koti Pratima Kshano Bhavet
Ravim Vinakšnor Ivanastvachuta
Ravim Vinakshno Rivanas Tavachuta
Yarhi Amujaksas Pasara Bhuvavan
Yahi Ambujaksha Pasasara Bhuvavan
Karun Madan Vata Surit Rikshaya
Kurun Madhun Vata Suhrit Didrikshaya
Tatrabda Koti Pratima Ksano Bhaved
Tatrapta Koti Pratima Kshano Bhavet
Ravim Vinakšnor Ivanastavachuta
Ravim Vinakshno Rivanas Tavachuta Yarhi Ambujaksha Pasasara Bhuvavan
Yahi Amujaksas Pasasara Bhuvavan
Kurun Madhun Vata Suhrit Didrikshaya
Karun Madhun Vata Surit Rikshaya
Tatrapta Koti Pratima Kshano Bhavet
Tatrabda Koti Pratima Ksano Bhaved
Ravim Vinakshno Ivanas Tavachuta
Ravim Vinakšnor Ivanastvachuta Yarhi
Yarhi
whenever
Whenever
Ambujaksha
Ambujaksha
O lotus-eyed one
O lotus-eyed one
Appasasara
Apasasara
you go away
You go away
Bo
Go
O
Go
Bhava
Bhavan
yourself
Yourself
Kurun,
Kurun,
the descendants of King Kuru.
the descendants of King Kuru.
Madun,
Madun,
the inhabitants of Mathura.
the inhabitants of Mathura.
Brajabhumi.
Rajapur.
Va,
Va,
either.
either.
Artha,
Atha,
therefore.
therefore.
Sirit Drikshaya,
Saradridikshaya,
for meeting them.
for meeting them.
Tatra,
Tatra,
at that time.
at that time.
Abdakoti,
Up the Koti,
millions of years.
millions of years.
Pratima,
Pratima,
like.
like.
Kshana,
Shana,
moments.
moments.
Bhavet,
Bhavet,
becomes.
becomes.
Ravim,
Ravim,
the sun.
the sun.
Vina,
Vina,
without.
without.
Akshno,
Akshnu,
of the eyes.
of the eyes.
Eva,
Iva,
like that.
like that.
Na,
Na,
ours.
us.
Tava,
Tava,
your.
your.
Achyuta,
Achata,
O infallible one.
O infallible one.
Yarhi ambujakshas pasasarabo bhavan kurun madun vata siridharikshaya tatrabda koti pratima kshano bhavet ravim viknakshor evanastvaya chuta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Charnadamananda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like 1,000,000 years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless, as if bereft of the sun. Please repeat. O lotus-eyed Lord,
O lotus-eyed Lord,
whenever you go away to Mathura,
whenever you go away to Mathura,
Vrindavan, or Hastinapur,
Vrindavana or Hastinapur,
to meet your friends and
to
relatives,
meet your friends and relatives,
every moment of your absence
every moment of your absence
seems like 1,000,000 years.
seems like millions of years.
O infallible one,
O infallible one,
at that time our eyes become useless,
at that time our eyes become useless,
as if bereft of sun.
as if bereft of sun.
O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like 1,000,000 years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless, as if bereft of sun. Purport. We are all proud of our material senses for making experiments to determine the existence of God. But we forget that our senses are not absolute by themselves. They can only act under certain conditions. For example, our eyes, as long as the sunshine is there, our eyes are useful to a certain extent. But in the absence of sunshine, the eyes are useless. Lord Sri Krishna, being the primeval Lord, the supreme truth, is compared to the sun. Without him, all our knowledge is either false or partial. The opposite of the sun is the darkness, and similarly, the opposite of Krishna is Maya, or illusion. The devotees of the Lord can see everything in true perspective due to the light disseminated by Lord Krishna. By the grace of the Lord, the pure devotee cannot be in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, it is necessary that we must always be in the sight of Lord Krishna, so that we can see both ourselves and the Lord with his different energies. As we cannot see anything in the absence of the sun, so also we cannot see anything, including our own self, without the factual presence of the Lord. Without him, all our knowledge is covered by illusion. Om Jnana-timirandasya Vinanjana Shalakaya Chakshusrumitam Yena Tasmai Shri. Born in illusion, the darkness of ignorance, due to the mercy of spiritual master having shined the torchlight of knowledge, now we have the eyes to see, and Bhagavatam gives us what we can see of perfection. And we see in this verse the qualification of the inhabitants, revealing the kind of attachment they had for Krishna. That the fact that Krishna had left leaves them in so much anxiety, as if the sun itself has stopped shining for them and there's no more light. I was realizing the other day when reading about all these benefits that Krishna gives to his devotees, seeing them as children, you might say. When a father and a mother have children, as they're growing up, each child reaches first stages of development in which then they gain the ability over control and the things in this material world. So then they start out, they get a bicycle, a tricycle with 3 wheels, and they get a bicycle with 2 wheels. Pretty soon they got a car. So here, similarly, we can see there's a graduation that souls take to get to the level of loving Krishna, to where in their minds there is nothing else to be loving, to be adored, to be having in our hearts that most precious relationship, which with the devotee is constant. But getting back to the mother and father aspect of the children, they want to treat the children equally. So then as each child reaches the very developmental stages, then they each are awarded in the same way, as long as they are faithful to their responsible positions that they are being given the opportunity to graduate to. So same way when we go to school. We start off with 2 and 2 is 4, and then we get into algebra and then trigonometry and those kinds of calculations. So love of God, Krishna, is also this way. And he is disseminating throughout the world what would be for the inhabitants to be able to receive the totality of. But as we see in Krishna consciousness, the totality of Krishna consciousness is so grand. It is more than we can contain in and of ourselves. And so bits and pieces are given here and there to society to the extent that they are putting God in that most important place in their minds, and most of them are not putting God in that most important place. So they get disseminated to them the amounts of truth that they are allotted according to the amount of advancement that they've made to that point. And this is why society is so divided amongst itself. The younger children are thinking themselves to be as equal as the older children. The older children are looking down disfavorably among the younger children not qualified yet, and how come they're using this thing and that. So society is like in a disarray like that as well, out of balance, because the lack of knowledge of the self. There's no people entering into positions that require self-realization to be able to give guidance to the rest of society. These people put in positions of leadership, of creating laws for society. But if they themselves are not self-realized, they have no means of being able to give to the rest of society that which can be beneficial to society, which is revealed here that the nature of the devotees is that their whole lives they are wanting to do what is beneficial for everyone. And where the rest of humankind is lacking is that they are, for the most part, thinking about how they can do everything for themselves. I want this, I want that, and whatever I have to do to get it, I'm going to go about it, right? And so this is how the modes of material energy, and if you notice through your life probably as well, especially if you're spending any time chanting. The early mornings of the day are run by the mode of goodness. And it is the easiest time in the day to be able to actually concentrate your mind on the spiritual aspects, like we're using this time right now to concentrate on Bhagavatam. But as the day moves on and people become more and more tired, you can see reflected in the activities. And then what to speak when darkness comes in, then total ignorance takes control. That's when murders, thieving, arson, and all these acts that are really against all of humankind. So just as a devotee is dedicating his life to serving Krishna in a way that is beneficial to all of humankind, those who are working against Krishna's ways are doing those activities that are destructive. And it's very subtle. We don't see outright manifest in most of humanity that they have angst, they have bad feelings towards God. They won't reveal it in every single one of their statements. But ultimately, in that they are reserving for themselves, they are refraining from knowing the source and giving to Krishna, returning to Krishna that which would otherwise be able to be used to its fullest extent. But if we as thieves think of our mind as our own, our energy as our own, our house as our own, all the possessions we gain, all our own, all for me, all for myself, and this, we cut off ourselves from the source of everything. And this development of appreciation in the heart is lacking in society now too. People are feeling they are owed. There's a famous saying originated, as far as I know, by once President of the United States, John Kennedy. And what I find interesting is applying it to Krishna rather than applying it to the government. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." And so this is a very wise way to approach Krishna as well. We don't ask Krishna what he can do for us. And even now, as I described that, it seems funny that we would do that. But this is the way people are praying, or being taught to pray. Oh God, give me this. Oh God, I need this thing. I need that thing. Give me this, give me that. When we should be developing the mentality, dear Lord, please teach me, give me the wisdom, the knowledge, the ability that you are to be able to perform the functions of my life that you want me to perform, that will be pleasing to you. And as we develop constantly that mentality in everything we do, then when we look back on it all, we will know it will have the best effect that it could possibly have. Our lives, I'm speaking of, will have the greatest effect if we are engaging these lives in that spiritual energy, which is that eternal energy from which everything is coming. Because as we dedicate our lives as souls to that eternal energy that Krishna is himself empowering us to be able to carry out these functions, then to that extent that we surrender, Krishna, we enable Krishna by being of a willing mind and of a willing heart, because Krishna's nature is not like that of most human beings. Again, we get back to the I, me, and mine thing. And Krishna is all out he's coming here for our benefit and to give us a way to return to him, to the spiritual world. Whereas we are going into the world for, again, trying to find how we can gain this stuff. So the same way when we go out running after stuff, it all runs away. And that which you are renouncing, it all comes chasing after you. I don't want this, I don't want that. So things in this world are almost working exactly opposite the way they're supposed to. That's why Bhagavatam describes this material world as the equivalent of an upside-down reflection that you look at into a pond and see the tree, where the branches become the roots. Yeah. And that's why it's difficult in this world sometimes to figure out, you know, what we're doing. What am I doing that's causing so many problems for me to have to face this difficulty and that difficulty? But it is by our constant application of the principles and seeking Krishna for the answers and for wisdom and for knowledge. Because if we ask for the right things, it will be to that means we have of applying that knowledge that we get to our lives that will be the most productive. And with all these regulative principles being not for us to be restraining ourselves from something that we can have happiness with, but rather for us to be able to have fully perfected senses at the end of our lives that are not obstructed by this disease or that disease because we're putting alcohol in our bodies, or this drug or that drug or the other thing. And everything that we put in our bodies, when it is offered to Krishna, then our bodies, having only what we put into it to build itself from, is itself going to also be prasadam. It is, these bodies are actually a different form. We can't see the difference. But even that other people are having to put up with in their lives, we have problems with our physical bodies because they are of a temporary nature. But just imagine those people who are going through the suffering of breaking all these regulative principles. We could go to the hospital and find every day, we could fill our whole day up with just finding how many people in that hospital are dissatisfied and are at the point of leaving their bodies, and give them the means to be able to find Krishna at that last moment of life, to give them the name Krishna, to bring with them to the spiritual world. Devotees have that much power in that they have Krishna's name with them. You have the ability now to bring those who are living in the darkness of ignorance, to bring them the light of Krishna consciousness that can open their minds up to the eternity they've been cutting themselves off from without even realizing it. Thinking themselves doing the very same thing all their other neighbors are doing, just living life to the fullest degree they can. Try and enjoy everything they can, to have the latest, most modern this, the most attractive that. Rather than seeing everything as a means of finding that completeness of satisfaction that we get from the association that's being revealed here, that the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Mathura, when Krishna came back, that they had for Krishna, so that nothing else satisfies them to the extent that Krishna's presence satisfies. So we have such opportune situation in the temple that it's easy to forget and take for granted that the temple is always going to be here and can always just come whenever we want to and like this. But there are a lot of devotees who are not taking advantage. And it's just like we have a saying in the United States, waste not, want not, which means if you have abundance of things and you're constantly throwing things out, it is a statement that you don't want, or you don't need, or you don't have, and then eventually that works into you not getting. We have to use everything that we have. Srila Prabhupada said, utility is the principle. So we use everything we can in Krishna's service, and we don't waste anything. But in the same way, there's another perspective, not only not wasting, but using everything we have available to us. See, in fact, as young people have a much greater opportunity going to various places that could be, in fact, places where Krishna consciousness could be promoted. I was thinking today, we make a web page where we could have soundtracks going out for people that want to put right now people are making a lot of these little 1-minute skits. Have you seen these online?
Yes.
So we could be offering soundtracks that have knowledge from Bhagavad Gita being spoken with music in the background, or else a Battle of Kurukshetra in the background going on, you know. And people, we could invite people to come and present their soundtracks as well. And all this put together, then people can make movies like this.
Yeah.
People they're constantly looking for actors, actresses, and we could make suggestions on there for movies that could be made. What to speak of, kids are all playing games. They could be learning Bhagavad Gita while scoring how many arrows they get to shoot, you know, because they hit the arrow, they hit the target. Now they get more arrows. And then they can learn the mantras. So many things could be done with kids these days. And you know what is happening? I don't know whether you guys are aware of this or whether this was the way it was when you were in school. Teachers are becoming so frustrated, I found, that see, the computer has set in children's mind a completely different perspective on what they want as education. They say, why do I have to add? The computer does it for me. Why do I have to read? If I want to read something, I just have somebody on Kindle read it to me. So they're coming out of high school. They don't have 3rd grade reading capabilities. And they're being told by the administrators, just pass them along. Just pass them. So they're getting into high school, they can't read. And they're going to be allowing these kinds of people to enter into the legislative branches of government. It's sad. And right now, people that have been allowed into the branches of government is proof that the government system is broken. Illegal people are sitting in legislative offices of the United States government who got there by cheating and lying. Lying about the fact that they were married. Lying about the fact that they were born somewhere that they weren't born. These kinds of things are basic truths that was established as what necessary for the government to function. In the way our society is set up right now, there has been so much destruction allowed in people's minds when they put this defund the police. The police are for the protection of the people. If you take away the trust of the people in what is its protection, you have no protection, then you have no protection. And it's the same way with the enemies seeing this chaos going on. If we don't build ourselves as a strong nation, we will be seen by tyrants as those that can be taken over. And as strong as we have been a nation in the past, we're only as strong as the people who make up the nation. And our laws are only as strong as the truths that support them. And if people are not going to follow the truths of God, they're going to lead themselves right into the brink of destruction. This country, when I was born, was believed to be the wealthiest nation in the world. And now I have seen by the decline of its basic daily activities and its mentality. When people are born with the idea that the government will do everything for me, it's a completely different mental attitude that is formed. And it's exactly opposite of Krishna conscious. We come to serve. We don't come to be served. But as we take the part of serving, automatically service happens towards us. But it's the mentality and the consciousness that we have developing through the desire to have ourselves satisfied, that the false ego is allowed to affect other people. And if we are all living with our own self-egos wanting to be satisfied, we're going to be offending everybody. And everybody's going to be offending us. And that's the chaos that's going on right now. That's why they can't find satisfaction. If they get a minimum wage raised to another $1 or $2 more, next year they want another $1 or $2 more besides that. Isn't it? That's the way it is. They're not finding satisfaction because they're not engaging themselves in the activities that provide satisfaction. That's the problem. And what that does is now what it has caused society to develop into is such a institution of forced economics. People are not, they're even getting jobs that they don't like. People don't work because they want to work at that particular profession. They work because they got to have a job and they got to make money enough to be able to exist. And this is not the way society is supposed to be functioning. And you can see with all of Krishna's citizens in his cities, they love what they are doing. And they have no worries whatsoever of tomorrow. Their only thoughts is about Krishna. When's Krishna coming back? And that's how, if as devotees we develop this kind of love, our life will be the same way. We will find such total satisfaction in knowing that Krishna is giving us a way out of here to be able to know the eternal dwelling again and return to that place of perfection, where every tree can provide any kind of fruit, where the weather is constantly perfect all the time, where relationships, the presence of other souls there is a fulfilling and satisfying, healthy experience of nourishment that the soul gets just from its nature. Its own nature is such that its energy flowing out to others is a fulfilling, satisfying experience. Because the soul is made of Satchidananda. So our whole search in taking part in these activities to Krishna is to know what we are made of. Because our search in the material world for wealth and these things doesn't give us the same result as knowing what the self is gives us. If that is going to be our purpose, I want to know what eternity is. I want to know what God's thoughts in me are. I want to have the sharing of a relationship with Krishna, so much so that he wants to give knowledge to me, which we see you're having here. And the questions we go through. These souls have such close relationship face to face with Krishna. They develop the consciousness that involves Krishna because it is the subject matter that Krishna is interested in as well. And so when we develop those questions toward Krishna that invoke him to want to answer our questions, then that communication gets better and better and better every day. Yeah. Krishna consciousness is a glorious experience.
Yeah.
It's glorious. We've got all the hope, we've got all the faith, we've got a vision to see what this world could be like. If perfection was obtained, there'd be no more sickness. Everybody would be treating one another like family. We would all want what is best for one another. In fact, we would want better for others than for ourselves. This is the mentality of a devotee. Krishna consciousness. That's the mentality of Krishna. Josh. Any comments, any questions, any realizations?
Very good to hear Ekadashi story and Bhagavatam.
Josh. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much for coming. Josh. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.